But what is the direct implication of scrapping the Police Affairs Commission?
Actually, I think, I mean, if you look at the report itself, although I must confess I've not read the full report. The ones I've read is a snippet from the papers, and I know that when you publish a report, the newspapers take the aspects that interest them, which may leave out the bulk. So for me, there are recommendations in the report that I welcome. There are recommendations that I disagree with. There are areas I'm surprised they left out, which I feel the CSO panel, let's also understand that there's a parallel CSO panel that looked at the same issues that is now trying to submit its report to the president pending when we get a date to do that, and it will take it up. Beginning with the areas that I agree with, I think some rethinking of the structure and organization of the Ministry of Police Affairs is necessary, because right now they are saddled with budgetary oversight, which means sit over the funds of the police and do no other thing.
So you're saying it should be reformed, not scrapped?
It should be rethinked. Actually, in my view, it should be renamed either Ministry of Safety and Security or Ministry of Public Security, because the issue of safety and security goes beyond the functions of the formal police. There's also the informal sector that are doing a lot in the communities, but without any government support in any structured manner. So rethinking that ministry to position it to deal with all the gamut of agencies doing some policing work is necessary. The other area I agree with is funding of the police. I don't think an agency of the state whose functions is at the heart of the social contract, if you believe it, that government or state exists for security and welfare of the people, that such an agency should be left to what we have now, where you basically go to the Ministry of Finance and collect an envelope. Whatever is in that is what you take with. I also believe that the IG should be made to control operational budget of the police. And of course, the issue of reviving the police council. I agree with all of that. But the areas that I don't agree is the scaremongering that has gone into the issue of the state police. And I don't think we should surrender to the mob on both sides of the divide, both those who support and those who are against, because it stifles debate.
Well, we'll come back to that, because truly is very debatable, but let's just not try to go into that for the main time. But listening to Olubolade, what comes to mind is one thing he said we shouldn't get into unusual talk. He doesn't really like it that, that we have snippets of this particular report. That's one. Then two, how does the government operate? Now you have a report saying that you should scrap a ministry of Police Affairs. Once upon a time, there was nothing like police ministry. And now someone is saying scrap it, because we haven't seen any difference in the affairs or reformation you try to put in the police. He says he's a member of the panel to look into another committee's report that is also having a kind of recommendation about his own ministry. How fair can that be when a man who's been mentioned in a particular report is also a member of that particular panel to look at that report of that his own ministry has been mentioned? Actually,
that's what I said earlier, that there's a problem with that, because already biased. And he's also not right that the issue of looking at the structure of the ministry was not covered in the terms of reference. They have 5 terms of reference, and the last one is an omnibus clause. Any other thing that can help.
Are you saying this falls into any
other? I mean, every terms of reference of every panel has that clause. Sorry, because those who are framing it may have left something in it, and this is where it comes up.
Just allow us to cover a whole lot now. You've been working and doing a whole lot of work looking at police reforms, even before the new IG that has also started this reform we're going to see in the police. What have you seen since the creation of the police ministry that you can say, this is it for the police ministry, to the extent that is positive to our police force?
I think we have to begin with Section 215, subsection 3 of the Constitution, that says that the president or any other minister of government acting on his behalf has a power to give lawful direction on maintenance of security through the police. And operating from that premise and knowing how busy the office of the president is, it does envisage creating a ministry that would help him play that function of directing the police. That is where the Ministry of Police Affairs, or indeed any other ministry that is charged with that function, gets its authority, legal authority from. Now, over the years, we have had governments, especially during the military, that dispensed with both the functions of the ministry and indeed the Police Service Commission, because the panel that says, oh, because it has not always been there, which is the one headed by Pariosayende, forgets that his own Police Service Commission has also not been there under a military administration. You know, but then is that within any government, such functions is charged with a ministry, which may or may not be Ministry of Police Affairs.
But if we peg it on what the Minister of Police Affairs did say, of course, he also did say at the time that, first and foremost, this committee went beyond this brief. And so that's why he doesn't want unnecessary discussions about it. He also did cite the fact that, what's the hue and cry about this in the first instance? The Ministry of Defense, who is the political head? They had all those, you had the Navy, the Army, the Air Force. They report politically to the Minister of Defense. The budget goes through the same line, and they've been functioning. So, what's making a mountain out of a molehill, he thinks?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, first he was wrong in saying that the recommendation or the discussion of whether to scrap or not the ministry was not covered in the terms of reference. And as I said, if you look at the term of reference 5, which is the omnibus clause, you find in any terms of reference, thus understand that it's likely that all that needed to be discussed were not covered in the outline, and then provide any other suggestions that will help in repositioning the force. And it's under that rubric that this panel operated. Now, I agree with him that, of course, the police must report to a political authority. You know, so the scrapping of the ministry is not really the way to go about it. What the quarrel of the police is that their budget is being controlled by the ministry, which can be addressed through a composite budget arrangement where you have allocations for operation for the police that should go directly with the police. But then on issues of policy and all that, the ministry should run it. So my beef with the ministry is that it is not charged with a lot. And that is why successive ministers have ended up going into politics, including him.
You know,
because they don't have much to do in the office.
Also, Pariosayende's discussion also covers the fact that, you know, constitutionally, the Police Affairs Commission does not have a definite assignment in the 1999 Constitution.
It does.
According to
if you read section 215 subsection 3, it says the president or any other minister of government acting on his behalf can give lawful directive to the Inspector General of Police in relation to maintenance of security. So it envisages that a constitution doesn't have to spell ABC, then it will no longer be a living constitution. It's even an abnormality that you have all this raft of ministries and agencies mentioned in the constitution. Then what is the function of the National Assembly?